This is Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerantz in the San Gabriel Valley. Today I am so glad that Bill Rue is here. He is a councilman in the city of Montclair, actually on the border of LA and San Bernardino County, inside San Bernardino County, a beautiful city, about 30,000 residents, with a budget of almost $30 million.
Correct.
Tell us about that budget.
We have, as you said, almost $30 million, $28.8 million. Now that's up $7 million from just last year.
And let's talk about that, because it is remarkable that cities in the Inland Empire, and even here in the San Gabriel Valley,
our economy goes with both,
of course,
Montclair,
have bounced back so nicely over the last 5 years. Because, I mean, I know Montclair wasn't Hesperia in terms of ground zero of the foreclosure crisis, but I'm sure you had some foreclosure challenges even in Montclair. And please.
We did, but I think what we were able to do was early on, we were able to hit hard, do what we needed to do, make some of those tough decisions early on with the budget. If we had to make cuts, we did that, so that we knew that in the future we'd be able to bring things back when the economy rebounded.
How do you go from 21 to 28 million in 1 year? As a percentage, that's what, 33% more?
Something of that sort.
Help me, I'm not so good at math.
No, but it is. And what's happened is the development that's coming into the city. All of our cities are seeing a lot more development, primarily multifamily, high-rise.
I see.
A new development that's coming in is Trammell Crow. They're doing 211 units, 31.8 units an acre. Now, why is development coming so rapidly into our cities? The mass transit, the Gold Line.
We'll talk about that.
Right on the border.
We'll talk about that. At the same time, with development, though, you're going to need to create infrastructure to service that development, be it for Montclair Place, which I believe is going through a renovation.
Right, they are.
Trammell Crow as well. So how do you manage those infrastructure needs?
We have a budget that goes out 5 years to look at all of our infrastructure needs, to put that in place. We want a good budget. We have right now almost 22% of our budget in cash reserves.
Oh, wow. So this is in addition to the 28.8 million.
And then we also have about another 25% of our budget in dedicated reserves.
I understand.
Those are the things to pay for our bond payments, things of that sort. I think that puts us in good financial shape. It allows us to look 5 years out. What are we going to need with our infrastructure? That's so important right now in California.
Clearly.
If you have a major shopping area, as we do, off a major freeway, the 10.
Which you do.
Which we do.
Right.
You want to make sure that your local infrastructure can handle the volume of cars and people who are going to be in that on any given day.
So let's talk about that, because you said you have some money in your own budget, but as you know, a couple months back, the state of California passed what's known as SB 1.
Correct.
It is an increase in the gas tax, as well as some other taxes as well, diesel, annual vehicle fee, electric car owners will be paying more. $52 billion over 10 years, over $5 billion a year for 10 years. Will Montclair be able to access any of that money for your infrastructure needs?
Absolutely. Every city will be able to access a certain portion of the money based on gasoline sales tax and the formulary they put in place. This is a benefit to smaller cities such as Montclair, because we can take care of they're going to be widening the freeway. We can handle our north and south arterials, do what we need to do on our major thoroughfares, get them repaired. And it's being paid for by the people who are the users. If you drive a car, you use gasoline.
Of course.
So you're paying for a portion of it. And whether some people don't like it, some people do, that isn't the issue. We're going to be able to use that money and help create a better infrastructure, especially around Montclair Place.
So today, I took the Gold Line to come here.
Isn't it great?
It was fantastic. I went from the Expo line to the Red Line to the Gold Line. I got off at Irwindale. I used a little scooter for my last mile, a Segway. I loved it. Right now, the Gold Line ends in Azusa.
Correct.
But there have been discussions about it extending out, and it looks like as a result of LA County's Measure M, it will extend out.
Yes.
In fact, recently you went to a press conference.
We are,
and
we
tell
went
us,
to a press conference
tell us about
in,
that.
Downtown LA at Metro. And the press conference was a celebration of Measure M. All the elected officials were there, Mayor Garcetti, everybody involved with this, to talk about where this money is going to go, how we're going to use it. And the fact that we're now going to move not just a couple hundred people a day, hundreds of thousands of people a day through this system, you'll be able to connect from Azusa, Citrus College, APU stop, all the way out to Montclair.
Now let's talk about that, because that's where the rubber meets the road, if I can use that cliche. Because as we just said earlier, Montclair is in San Bernardino County. Just barely, but it is. And so there is a need to somehow get that last LA County stop, Claremont, to extend, is it what, like
3,500 feet.
3,500 feet into Montclair. There's a method to that madness. We'll get there in a second. It deals with Ontario Airport. So how are you going to get from Claremont to Montclair 3,500 feet?
There's a commitment of money from the San Bernardino Transportation Commission, to get some of that money for us. We're also looking at some of the state money. There's about $30 million in this recently passed budget.
So SB1?
No.
It'd be something separate?
Separate. About $30 million in the state budget to help with the Gold Line to get it, and other transportation projects, into San Bernardino County. So we're appreciative of that. Plus, we've already done an issue where we're going to loan $3 million to the authority for the environmental studies, because those have to be done.
So the question then becomes, is it time for San Bernardino County to look at its own self-help tax, or at least a new one? Because, look, as you know, in 2016, there were 14 self-help taxes on the ballot. Only 6 passed, but they were in blue, red, and purple counties. And so I guess San Bernardino's purple blueness maybe suggests,
sort of purplish.
Suggests that a self-help tax could work.
I think it could. In the past, the voters have been shown that they're very able and willing to pass a tax for transportation. They've done it before, but they want to know that it's going to go to transportation, and specifically which projects. I think that's the challenge LA faced with Measure M. That's the challenge San Bernardino County will face, but I think they're willing to do it. Voters understand they're willing to pay for it, but they want to know where it's going, and that there'll be a sunset on it at some point.
So right now, San Bernardino does have a half-cent sales tax dedicated to transportation.
And we would eventually have to extend that at some point.
Is it sunsetting soon, do you know?
I believe it sunsets soon. A couple of years.
Okay, so where do you go on that? Because that could be pivotal. I mean, it's great if you can get into Montclair, but how do you get from Montclair to Ontario Airport, which is the goal?
Exactly, and I think it can be a combination of things. One, City of Ontario, which owns and controls the airport. Now, amen on that one for many supporters of the Inland Empire. And they will need to make the decision of the alignment, what they want to do, and how they want to get it there.
How far is Montclair from Ontario?
About 6 miles to the airport.
But that's a key 6 miles.
And the right-of-way isn't there, but they'll have to look at that. They're also going to look at what is the cost going to be, but an extension of transportation, Measure I, could...
Measure I is your self-help now.
The measure could be a way to help get it to Ontario Airport. There may be private sector funding too, public-private partnerships to help accomplish that.
I want to thank you so much for joining us. It's been my pleasure to have you on the program, and hopefully we'll see each other soon.
Yes. Well, Brad, I want to thank you for all your service in doing this program. It's been great. It's a way for public officials and others to get messages out to people and do it in a very different way. Not everybody has social media. We receive messaging very differently now, and you've done a great job with this, and good luck to you in everything you're doing in the future.
I appreciate that. His name is Bill Rue. He is a councilman in Montclair. I'm Brad Pomerantz. It's Local Edition.